Hi there, my name is Heather Tucker, and this is my intellectual autobiography for IDS uh, fall semester of 2021. I was born in Waycross, which is in Ware County, Georgia, on August the 22nd, 1975. I was the first child of my parents, and I have a younger sister and a younger brother. I was also the first grandchild on my maternal side of my grandparents. Two, well, I guess not really two. I have several key events in my life, but a few that I want to talk about. Um, I broke my femur bone when I was in first grade. I was being disobedient and not listening to my mother, and was in a bicycle race riding on the handlebars of a bicycle. We were winning, but we were on a dirt road and kind of went off to the side. And when the bike fell, I landed really hard on my right knee and gashed my head right here on the corner of a truck. I was in traction. That happened December the 12th, and I did not get out of the hospital until the first week in February. I was in bedridden and I was in traction with a pin going in one side of my leg and coming out the other. That was a hard lesson learned for a 6-year old, but I learned after that to obey my mother. The second thing that comes to mind was being born again. I was baptized by the Reverend H.E. Whitley at United Pentecostal Church, and received the gift of tongue, and that was a major shift, I think, in my life. I had just had my daughter, and I was just hungry, and my spirit needed to be fed. And it wasn't until I had an emergency C-section with my son in 1998 that I actually felt the presence, of Jesus. Really, I had to have an emergency C-section because the baby's heart rate stopped after they had induced my labor, and they wouldn't let my husband go into the delivery room. When Hunter was born, he came out, with an APGAR score of 0. He was blue, and but because right before they put me under, I just said, Jesus, take me, don't take my baby. And Hunter's fine. They wanted to run all these tests and everything on him, but I refused just because I had my faith, and I had to stand strong and affirm that. And I was afraid if I, doubted that I was just afraid to doubt. So I believed. And I'm very thankful that I did have that experience. The third thing that comes to mind is being a wife and a mother, and then I'm a Mimi. A wife can be tricky. I feel like I'm getting better as I go along. My husband and I are both very independent, and we're very strong-willed. He's a Scorpio, I'm a Leo, so it's it can get interesting at times, but it's fun. Like I said, my children, there are no words. My daughter, she's 24. She is an interior designer in Decatur, and she works in Atlanta. And then my son Hunter is 23, and he graduates from UGA this semester with a business degree and in real estate. And then my stepson, which lives here in Brunswick, he and his wife have our grandbabies, Eliana and David, which that's who I am Mimi to. And he's a local veterinarian and also a graduate of Berry College and then UGA Veterinarian School. Influential people and ideas, obviously very family oriented, family based. I have very strong parents. They were great parents. My maternal and paternal grandparents were unbelievable. My goal is, and I strive with my grandchildren, is to be as good of a grandmother as I had in mine. Um, and really family. We try to have family dinners. I know when the kids were at home, every night as much as we could. On Sunday nights, I made homemade chocolate chip cookies. I wanted to be remembered as a wonderful cook. That's how I remember my grandmothers, and so far it's worked. Um, my husband is is influential. He is my biggest critique, but also my biggest fan. He pushes me every day to be better and to do more and to chase my dreams. My children, all of my children, support me in going back to college and finishing my degree. Um, they said I should practice what I preach, so here I am. Um, Dorothy Newton, or Miss Dot, she uh, is is her worth and value is immeasurable to me. When I did go back to work after having my son, she came on board and worked with me. She was my full time nanny. I wanted her, if I could not be at home um, raising my children, then I wanted, she took that role and she took it very seriously. She is still a part of our family, and I love her to death. There's not, I learned so much from her. And Tom Lee is an attorney that I worked for 14 years. He was a former Glenn County attorney. He was the attorney for Brantley County for a bit, the attorney for the city of Woodbine, the attorney for the city of Kingsland. He was also a prior JAG attorney, and I learned so much from him. He was very hard. He was tough on me, but now I appreciate it. And there were days where I was just so angry with him, but he was a big part in giving me the wisdom that I have today in legal matters and being able to facilitate my appraisal degree. And new to my list, and I can't go without mentioning him, is Dr. Robert Blail. He was my advisor when I decided to come back in the summer, and he has done an amazing job at getting to know me and helping me with my class load, so that I feel like I'm complete, like I'm enjoying every single class. There's not one class that I do not enjoy, and that's been really refreshing. Hobbies and pursuits, like I said earlier, time with family. I love to fish. I love to hunt. I love music. I love to paint and draw. That's kind of my escape. And then baking and cooking. My pursuit that I want to complete is my next appraisal tier. Right now I'm a Georgia licensed real estate appraiser, and my goal with my bachelor's degree is to sit for the Certified Residential Appraiser Board. There are some additional appraisal school classes that I will need to take in addition to finishing this bachelor's degree and hours. But that's something that I do intend on completing, since I currently am licensed. And then I would also like to apply for law school. My mother-in-law had a stroke a couple of years ago, and she was my husband's paralegal for 30 years. And I'd never worked in the office with my husband as a paralegal. I'd worked in other firms, and we do work well together. And I've been here since his mother had a stroke. We had to take care of her. She was with us for a year after the stroke until she was comfortable to go home and, as best independent as she's going to get. So my current worldviews, I am a Christian. I guess you could say or non-denominational, because I've been to Episcopal churches. I was raised Southern Baptist. I was baptized, at United Pentecostal Church. I sang in the choir at the Pentecostal church. And so my faith and my relationship with Jesus is very important to me. I believe in our freedoms, in the Bill of Rights. I believe that people should work for what they want. Nothing in life is free. And, the more knowledge that you have, the more that you have to offer to, to yourself, to your family, to individuals, for your career. And a big idea that has recently been brought to my attention that we really haven't experienced before is the COVID-19 pandemic, and how the halt in the judicial systems affected those people that are incarcerated. And it's not only those people that are incarcerated, but it is also their families, their mothers, their fathers, their siblings, their children. For instance, we had several clients that were being held on misdemeanor charges without a bond because court wasn't being held because of the pandemic. And I do feel like that the electronic systems that they have put in place, although they still do fail and it takes a long time to get through a court proceeding, it is better than not being able to have court at all. So I feel like the COVID-19 pandemic and judicial halts for toll dates. For instance, in our criminal cases, the first thing that we do is we file a motion for speedy trial, and that just sets the time clock. And but what happens when a COVID when a pandemic such as COVID steps in and shuts everything down? What happens to those dates? Are they told from the time that the Supreme Court halted it? When do they pick up? There's a lot that we're still trying to figure out. We actually have a case that is now before the Court of Appeals. So hopefully that'll shed some light on my big idea and my question. Prior intellectual journey for me, I've done a lot, and I was first introduced to ideas way back in maybe 2011 or 12 when I was out at the college and I was pursuing a nursing degree. And my English 1101, I think, or 1102, her name was Miss Dewart, and she was tough. She reminded me so much of my husband the first time that I met her. And sure enough, she was a Scorpio, and they actually had the same birth date, so that was kind of funny. But she was tough, but she was a great teacher. And in one of my first meetings with her, she asked me why, I wasn't pursuing, an IDS degree or something similar with my background. Because I've done a little bit of everything. I've been a chiropractic assistant, a paralegal. I was apprenticed as a nail tech for a while, and a real estate appraiser. So I feel like everything that I've done, and looking back now, my life has always gone from, either medical to legal, from legal to medical, back to legal, and so now I'm using, all of the knowledge that I have, and it, my nursing background and the chiropractic background allows me to be a better personal injury paralegal, workers' comp paralegal, probate paralegal. I know how to research the clerk's office for the deeds and title bring downs and things like that. So all of that knowledge has kind of come full circle and completed where I'm at right now. One of the larger things that I was introduced to back at my first office job when I was a senior in high school, I got out half a day and I did go to work in the chiropractor's office, and that was cross training. I was taught how to empathize with people on the telephone. When they called for their appointment, they were usually in pain. And that was, the first impression of the office was that telephone call. So it was honed in on me the very importance of a telephone call. When you introduce yourself, you make eye contact with a firm handshake. You're very confident. And then cross training, so that if anyone was out, everyone can work together to cover that spot, and make sure that the work gets done. And to me, that is very, very important. Is cross training. And I could go on and on about every the things that I've come in contact with in those professions to help back up why I think or why I know that IDS is right for me. The traits and skills of IDS that I identify with. This degree actually fits my life and my work experiences and my life experiences to date. Everything is like I said before. Everything is just kind of coming together. All of my previous studies and classes and experiences, to make who I am today, and to help allow me the open-mindedness to solve complex problems and not be honed in on, it only, or I guess departmentalizing where I can pull my information from. And it's also allowed me contacts, so that if it's not something that I know, I've met a lot of people and I've worked with a lot of people, and I always keep open doors, so that I can, if I need anything, I can always reach out and call. So I would say, out of the traits, I would say that my love of learning, because I do love to learn, and I try to be the best at whatever it is that I'm trying to be. Self-reflection and intellectual courage. The concentrations that I've chosen with finishing my appraisal degree and applying to law school, would be the social sciences, humanities, law, that would cover history and criminal justice. And how this coursework has applied is challenged my critical thinking skills. It's reminded me not to be biased in my research, and to look at the big picture, and then to ask, why am I doing this, and who cares? Let's see, and I think that's about it. Again, my name is Heather Tucker, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.